Sinners has two main characters. And no, it's not Smoke and Stack. It's not Sammy and Smoke either. It's not even Smoke and Remik. The real main characters of Sinners are the blacks and the Irish. And this isn't a story of blacks versus Irish. It's the story of blacks and the Irish versus everyone else. It's a story of shared trauma, of how centuries of pain twisted two oppressed people against one another. The blacks and the Irish, two groups broken, starved, enslaved, demonized by the same empire. Two groups who, even after gaining freedom, were never truly free. Now, back to Sinners. Smoke and Stack are twins. They've survived it all. An emotionally abusive home, fighting side by side in brutal trenches, working under Al Capone himself, and finally carving out a fearsome name for themselves in Mississippi. They've earned the ultimate currency in America: power. Power, but at a cost. Because no matter how high they climb, their race never leaves the room. Their identity isn't just part of their story, it shapes it, it complicates it, it haunts it. Stack hesitates to speak to a white woman in public, terrified of what others might do to him or to her. Smoke refuses to invite white patrons into his juke joint because he knows one spilled drink, one wrong look at the wrong woman could mean death. No matter how high they rise, they can never fight the bigger picture. They're not powerful enough for that. They're not white enough for that. And then there's Remik. At first, it's unclear who or what Remik really is. Is he white, Scottish, or Irish? The movie keeps it ambiguous until one of the most iconic moments in the film. Remik dances an Irish jig to the Rocky Road in Dublin.
Well, in the merry month of May, from me home.
It's not just a fun song choice, it's a loaded one. The Rocky Road to Dublin sounds playful, but beneath the surface, it's a biting satire. It mocks the romanticized idea of Irish immigration. The Rocky Road isn't just a path, it's the brutal journey through prejudice, humiliation, and poverty. And it cuts even deeper. The traveler, who is the main protagonist of the song, is beaten, mocked, humiliated, just like real Irish immigrants were treated in England. Still not convinced? Remik spells it out later for us. When he's about to kill Sammy and Sammy begins to pray, that's when Remik reveals his own wound, his father's land stolen by the English. So, what's the connection between Smoke, Stack, and Remik? Between the blacks and the Irish, a shared past, a shared wound. But why music?
Will you go? Somebody take me. Big boy, I've been clean.
Why does Remik need music to express his pain? The answer lies in one of the most important scenes in the movie. Delroy tells Sammy and Stack about his time in a band. He played music to drink and forget. He played music for a lot of white people, and through that he earned a lot of money. Delroy ended up drinking his own money. What his bandmate? He wanted more. He dreamed of growth. He wanted to go back home, start a small church. He saved up, went to the train station, pulled out his money to pick out a $2 bill for the train ticket. A white man saw it, and the bandmate became his prey. Killed on a false charge of murder and sexual assault. His manhood mutilated. His life stolen. And here's where the film's genius shines. When Slim finishes his story, there's no reaction shot, no dialogue. He just starts singing. That's where the birth of the blues come from. That's where the Irish songs come from too. Not just entertainment, but a survival mechanism. A healer for pain that no doctor could cure. The Irish use music the same way, but they also found another escape: assimilation. And listen, this is not a dig at the Irish people. When you're starving, poor, desperate. You'll do anything to survive. And many Irish people did that. They moved to England, took factory jobs, housekeeping jobs. Some married into British families, started British curriculums. Soon they integrated so deeply that you couldn't tell them apart. Their white skin made it easier for them to do so. Their Irishness faded. But for the blacks, that was never an option. They couldn't marry into white families, they couldn't attend white schools, they couldn't even speak to white people freely. And beyond external barriers, there was something internal too, a fierce protection of culture or identity. They brought their roots with them wherever they went, sometimes by force, sometimes by choice. And that's exactly what Sinners shows. Remik joins the white supremacists. Instead of changing them, he assimilates into them. It's shown most brutally. They storm the black juke joint and massacre everyone except two. Remik's attraction to the juke joint wasn't just hatred. It was envy. He saw Sammy's music. He saw its power, the ability to protect identity, to heal trauma, to connect past and the future. And Remik wanted it, not to destroy it, but to own it, to use Sammy's gift for himself. But here's the question. If Sammy joined him, would it still be black music? Would it still be his? And that's the difference between cultures. When Remik dances to the Rocky Road in Dublin, he's joined by blacks, Chinese, whites, yet the song remains Irish. Nobody steals it, nobody dilutes it. But with black culture, that's not always the case. We live in a time where black culture isn't fully black anymore. You can trace it back to Elvis stealing black music, or Edison overshadowing Lewis Latimer.
Edison invented the light bulb, but one of its major problems was that it didn't work for more than a few hours. Lewis Latimer invented the method that allowed the light bulbs to burn for extended periods.
Or today, white people talking,
I said forget about it, cuz.
dressing,
The only thing you really need is a husband.
dancing like black people.
Say right foot creep, walking with that heat.
And at what point does inspiration become theft? And since we're here, we have to talk about the Drake vs Kendrick Lamar feud. Yeah, I know, everyone's tired of hearing about it. Me too. But after watching Sinners, their beef hits different. It stopped feeling like two rappers fighting for the top spot and started feeling like a battle over cultural ownership. I love Drake and Kendrick both. Kendrick's Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers might be one of the most finest albums in history of music. Drake's 3-album run, Honestly Nevermind, Her Loss and For All the Dogs might be my favorite 3 run of his. But Kendrick's accusation that Drake isn't of the culture, only borrowing from it, it hits different now. Again, I'm not black. It's not my place to say who is or isn't part of that culture. But as a fan of the music is mine to love. And Kendrick's point about Drake borrowing from artists like 21 Savage, Quavo, 2 Chainz, it echoes what Sinners shows. White men entering the juke joints, taking the art, claiming the magic over and over.
Macklemore and Ryan Lewis.
Harry Styles!
If you guys are liking the video so far, I'd love it if you guys could hit the subscribe button for me. It really helps me out a lot to continue putting effort like this. Thanks. Now, it brings us to another layer. Freedom. What is the price of freedom? Throughout Sinners, we see it again and again. Smoke and Stack think cash will buy it. Sammy thinks music will bring it. Delta Slim thought his talent could buy it. But every time, freedom slips away. Bought and sold like a lie. Even Stack and Mary, haunted by the past, trapped by invisible chains. The vampires offer another false freedom. Assimilation. Become like us. Think like us. Lose yourself and you can be free. But what is freedom if you lose your soul? That's why they fight. That's why they must fight. Because real freedom is the freedom to suffer, to dream, to create, to be even if it hurts. And that brings us back to Sammy. Sammy's music isn't just songs, it's a soul weapon. That's why Remik smiles when he sees it. That's why the vampires crave it. Because Sammy's music connects the living, the dead, the broken, and the hopeful. It connects the past and the future. It connects love. Remik wasn't just trying to steal Sammy's gift of power. He was longing. Longing for what he lost. Longing for the home he would never see again. Like, when we first see Sammy singing in that juke joint, we see so many people from the past and the people from the future coming together, joining Sammy in this crusade. And when Remik sees that, he sees that as an opportunity to reconnect with the people he lost along the way. Since being a vampire is basically nothing but just eternal life, you are obviously going to be losing a lot of people along the way. And that's exactly what happened with Remik as well. But through Sammy, he could connect with all of those people again. He could connect with those who he lost, who he loved. And I want to talk about one more thing. Remik. What exactly does Remik stand for? What exactly does he represent? Is he the devil? Is he just a regular vampire? Is he representing the Irish community? See, there are a lot of theories, like with any good film. In this case, one of the things that really stood out to me was the first scene when we see Remik. We're gonna see that the first time Remik shows up, he falls into the frame. From above, he jumps from the top into the bottom of the screen. And that looks very much like a fallen angel. If you know anything about the fallen angel was nothing but just Lucifer, the man who was banished from heaven, and he fell to earth and he convinced people to sin. And that's exactly what Remik does too, right? He goes to other people, he infects them with his vampirism, and they end up sinning. They end up killing innocent people, taking their souls. And another thing that really stood out to me was the ending. The mid-credits scene of the movie. Sammy, older now, played by Buddy Guy, playing the blues again. Stack and Mary visit him in his bar. They offer him the vampire gift. Sammy refuses because no deal, no fake freedom, no false immortality could ever match the power he holds in his soul. And then the post-credit scene. Sammy alone, sitting in his father's abandoned church. The church of the man who hated his music, playing, singing. And when he finishes up, he looks up at what? We don't know. But maybe we do. Because remember in the bar scene earlier, Sammy, when he's sitting with Stack and Mary, there is a mirror right in front of him. If you look at that mirror closely, my apologies for the bad quality by the way. If you look at the mirror in front of him, there are no reflections, just like the dead, just like the damned. So what does that mean? My theory for that would be that Sammy ended up selling his soul. Maybe he made a deal with something darker. Maybe he made the same deal that Robert Johnson did. If you don't know, Robert Johnson was another blues player, a gifted blues player who made a deal with the devil, and he ended up losing his life way too early at just 27 years old. But that deal with that devil did give him eternal fame, because to this day, Robert Johnson's name has been plastered all over the blues music. So does that mean that Sammy paid the Robert Johnson price? But even if he did pay that price, he paid it for freedom. Freedom to be heard. Freedom to exist in a world that tried to silence him. In a world that constantly tried to tell him to stop playing the music. Like when Smoke told him not to play the music anymore. Like when his father told him not to play the music anymore. Like when he tried to play the music and all the vampires and all the white supremacists started circling around him. He had no other way but to turn to the devil in order to continue creating, to continue playing. That's the price he paid for that freedom. That's the price he paid to be heard. That's sinners for you. my favorite film of 2025 so far. And before I go, I just have to say this. I hope Ryan Coogler never goes back to franchise films again. I love Black Panther, I love Creed, but when you see what he does with films like Sinners and Fruitvale Station, you realize how much brilliance gets trapped in that Marvel machine. The world needs Coogler originals. We need a Coogler movie every 2 years. Movies with teeth, heartbreak, matter. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you guys enjoyed the video. It would mean the world to me. And it would really motivate me a lot as well. One last thing. Tell me, what's the last movie you watched that left you truly awestruck? Can't wait to read your guys' answers. I'll see you guys the next time. Bye.